All right, everybody, what's happening, man? How y'all doing today? Welcome to another edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And of course, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, see what else coming at you. And it is week 10. We are at the start of Championship November, and there's some games that are going to definitely affect the standings this week. 6 games on the schedule, all SWAC games. Thursday night game, Friday night game, Saturday action. 3 nights of SWACtion. So, man, we just kind of get it in, and we're going to talk about all these games, break them down, get my thoughts and my predictions, and everything else. Yeah, you can check out the socials on the screen down below. Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. The little box on the screen is the Cash App if you want to donate a little bit to the show. $ Swag Talk. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you have, man, I appreciate it. Also, if you subscribed already, man, want to let somebody else know. We crossed 750 the other day, so man, we making a nice little march to 800. So man, I'd like to thank everybody who subscribed and thank you in advance if you haven't subscribed, because I know you will very shortly. Hit that notification bell to be alerted to anything that I drop, because I do have a basketball preview coming. I think I'll probably drop that early next week. And then, like the video, share them, and feel free to comment on your thoughts on week 10 and the SWAC races in the divisions and all of that, whatever. So make sure you jump in the comments, and I love to comment with you. Coming tomorrow is SWAC Smoke live at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. I guess I'm gonna need some flame-proof draws, because I'm sure some people were getting me in the comments for everything, all the smoke I was bringing on last Thursday. So I'm ready to get that smoke in return. So hey, that's how it go, man. If I drop smoke, I gotta take smoke. You gotta be able to talk winning and talk losing. So obviously my team lost, and if you want to come and get it in the comments on tomorrow's live show, hey, come with it, man. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Speaking of last week's game, man, I didn't really want to touch on this topic because I think it's ridiculous and it's stupid. But in terms of that video that Southern dropped, number one, I think it's foul to curse an adult. It's the same thing I said about the guys at Bama State. There's no need to curse a grown man and disrespect a man like that and talk about his health issues and all of that. I mean, that's number one. That's totally disrespectful. That is not the way Southern University football should be viewed. That's not the way Southern University as an institution should be viewed. Being disrespectful like that. That's not the way the fan base should be viewed, being disrespectful like that. This is a rivalry, man, and you can talk mad trash, and you got 60 minutes to talk trash and back it up on the field, but there's no reason to be disrespectful to anybody in that aspect. Cursing somebody, talking about their health issues, whatever. There's mad things that you can talk about the other team about without going that route. And to put your face on video doing that, man, I think it's ignorant, man. And I know, those kids are good kids on Southern team, and they probably got caught up in the rivalry and all that. But man, that's not what you do. That's not how you represent yourself. Like Coach Prime said, you never know who sees these videos, man. It stands all over social media. You trying to advance your career. You got people, in multiple leagues that are watching this, man. And that's a character flaw. That's a character issue. When you're coming from the SWAC, you cannot have anything on your record like that, man. You're already being held against because you're coming from the SWAC. Yeah, now you're a great player, and people see your face is on this, man, and you have to wear that. So hopefully, this is a learning experience, and hopefully some kind of action is being taken against these guys, whether it's extra work and practice, or you got to miss some time on me, because I think that's just something that you don't do, and that's something I don't condone. And I love to talk trash, man. Trust me, I love to talk, but there's lines that I believe that you don't cross. And cursing at somebody is one of them, and especially when you're a man, but that's a man too, and that's a man that's older than you. I just don't feel like that you curse people like that. Now, you curse a guy your age, then you got to be able to deal with that in the arena that he can approach you in, and that's on the field. So if you curse a guy out and he can get at you on the field, then you got to deal with that. And like Coach Prime said, at the end of the day, when you do that, you got to be able to play, man. And coming out and losing like that don't help none of that you did. So I wanted to go ahead and put that out there, man, get that out the way, because I didn't really want to talk about that, because I just don't I just don't agree with that. One other thing I do want to touch on from the game Saturday is, man, I going back to that cursing stuff, man. Don't curse me in my face, bro. I almost got into it with somebody at the game because there's no need for you to be cursing at old women and in people's face, man. So it's like I don't condone being disrespectful like that. It's mad stuff to be able to say we are playing like garbage. You can call us sanitation, you can call us waste management, you can call us whatever. I mean, hell, most people call us sucks. So it's like there's multiple ways to do this without saying, blank all y'all, blank you, y'all ain't blank, whatever, man. I don't get down like that. And if somebody approaches somebody like that in my area, man, I feel like somebody's gonna respond, and the situation can go left real quick. Thankfully, nothing ever happened, but I think that's something that people need to be careful of, man. Don't get swept up in this stuff and have something happen, because this world is crazy, man. As y'all see, we lost Takeoff yesterday, so it's like, man, the last days. So don't, man, value this stuff, man. This is just a game, what I mean? It's like we can have fun and chop it up and go back and forth, but we don't need to cross certain lines. So hopefully, hopefully we get our act together and we can come back to Jackson again and see what happens, whether it's the same result or not. Let's get back out there and chop it up in fellowship, man. Let's have fun. Let's not be disrespectful in that manner. So, man, I just wanted to put that out there, get my thoughts out there, and leave that alone, because I'm not gonna ever make a separate video about that kind of stuff, because I don't get down with the drama. So I just wanted to put that here, leave it, and man, I'm done. Now, if you wanna bring it up tomorrow on Sway Smoke, that's all good. But as far as me being the one that initiate the conversation about it, I'm done. I just wanted to share my thoughts on that, man. Now let's talk some football, actual football between the lines. We got a Thursday night game taking place in Itta Bena, Mississippi. The Bulldogs of Alabama A&M head to Rice-Titan Stadium to take on the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State. That's a 6:30 kickoff on ESPNU. So live SWAC football tomorrow, 6:30. Wish it was 7 so y'all can keep watching all the SWAC Smoke, but make sure you have them both on if you can, man. Have SWAC Smoke on and have the game on till we get done. Looking at the numbers, man, this has been to me, there's no other way to sugarcoat this, but this has been a very disappointing season for Valley. I think that they have not played well at all this season. I think they really, really underachieved. I think the offense hasn't been that good this season. They're 0-8 overall. They're 0-5 in conference. They may not win a game. They have 3 games left, and all the games that they have left are games that they could lose. So I think that this is a tough matchup. Alabama A&M comes into this game at 3-2. They 3-5 overall. They still need dubs coming off of a loss to Alabama State in the Magic City Classic. But I think Valley is running out of time to get this thing settled. I mean, obviously they would have to me, they would have to win all 3 of these games to have some sort of momentum in this season, and I don't see that happening. Right now, Valley is averaging 11.9 points per game, which is last in the league. Alabama A&M is 10th in the league in scoring offense at 21 points per game. Valley's defense allows 35 points per game, which is 10th in the league. A&M's defense is 8th, which allows 34.5 points per game. Total offense, Valley is last in total offense at 259 points per game. They average 4.3 points per play, which is also last in the league, and they only have 12 touchdowns as an offense, which is last in the league by 6. I mean, that's only having 12 touchdowns is just you're just not getting anything done as a unit. Alabama A&M offense is 7th in the league in total offense at 356 points per game, and they average 5 yards per play even. At total defense, Valley is also last at 466 yards per game. They allow 6.6 yards per play, which is also last in the league. Alabama A&M defense is 7th in the league, allowing 379 per game and 5.8 yards per play. Total rushing offense, Valley is 9th in the league. They average 138 yards per game on the ground and 3.7 yards per play. Alabama A&M is 8th in the league at 147.9 yards per game and they average 3.8 yards per carry. Defensively, Valley is seventh in the league in rushing defense at 151 yards per game allowed and 4.4 yards per play, yards per carry allowed. A&M is fifth in rushing defense at 142.9, and they allow 4.2 yards per carry. They've given up 17 touchdowns on the ground, and Valley has given up 11. So A&M doesn't give up they give up less yards, but they give up more scores on the ground. Valley has been really susceptible to the run game. Passing offense, Valley again, they're last in passing offense at 120 yards per game. They have 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. A&M is fifth in the league in passing offense at 209 yards per game, 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions that they've thrown. They lead the league. They're tied for the league lead in interceptions thrown. So they definitely turn the ball over a lot through the air. They throw more than 1 interception per game. Valley is last in the league in passing defense, allowing 314 yards per game. They have given up 19 touchdowns, which is the most in the league, and they have 4 interceptions, which is tied for the least in the league. A&M is 11th in the league in passing defense, and that's 236 yards per game, and they've allowed 17 touchdowns, and they have 8 interceptions. So both teams are kind of like, they're kind of both struggling in the pass game defensively. So I think if you can hit some plays through the air in a game like this, that's definitely going to be the difference in this game. Defensively, Valley has allowed they have allowed 27 sacks as an offensive unit, which is 11th in the league. A&M has allowed 22, which is 10th in the league. Defensively, Valley has 15 sacks on the season, which is 8th, and A&M is 7th with 17 sacks by their defense. Like I said, Valley has 4 interceptions, which ties for the least in the league, and A&M is tied for 4th in the league with 8. So A&M does a better job of forcing turnovers through the air than Valley does by a decent amount. First downs per game, Valley is 11th at 14.9 first downs per game. Alabama A&M is 6th at 19.8. Alabama A&M allows 21 first downs per game, which is 7th in the league. Valley allows 23.1, which is 11th in the league. Third down conversions, Valley converts 28%, 28.6, which is 11th. Alabama A&M is 10th at 29.8%, so neither team really does a good job of converting third downs. A&M opponents convert 46.2% on third downs, which is 10th. Valley's opponents 46.8, which is 11th. So neither one of them get stops on third down either. Both teams struggle on third downs. A&M has been finding ways to win. Valley has yet to find a way to win. Valley is 3rd in the league in fourth down conversions, 61.5%. They've attempted 13 fourth down attempts. Alabama A&M is 10 of 20 for 50%. That's 4th. And they have attempted 20 fourth down attempts, which is the most in the league. So they go for it quite a bit on fourth down. Valley is 7th in the league in opponents' fourth downs at 41.7%, and A&M is last in the league at 58.3% on fourth down conversions for the opponents. Now, looking at some of the individual guys in this game for both teams, A&M is led by Donovan Eaglin on the ground with 594 yards rushing on the season. He averages 5.3 yards per carry, and he has 5 touchdowns. He's a guy who he hasn't really broken many long runs. His longest run on the season is 26. So he's a guy who kind of just gets his yardage, throughout the game. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, and before you know it, he's at 100. He has 113 carries, which is the most by far on the team. Passing right now, they still are a two-headed monster. Langford 96 of 174. 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 1,067 yards. Casey, 46 of 79, 578 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They're both at about the 55% completion rate. Receiving, the leading receiver on the season is Isaiah Cox and Keenan Hambrick. Hambrick with 225 yards, Cox 291, Cox 3 touchdowns, Hambrick 2. You have Young with 19 catches for 243. Jenkins Jr. 18 for 142. Terrell Gardner 15 for 179. Defensively, they're led in tackles by Drake Terry with 50, Moses Douglas with 43, Hayes with 41. Tackles for loss, Hayes 13 and a half, and sacks, Thomas Douglas and Jabron McNeil each have 3. And interceptions, Rice and Moses Douglas each have 2 interceptions apiece to lead the defense. Valley is led on the ground by Caleb Johnson. Um, not having as great of a season as he had last season. As you remember, he went over 1,000 yards last season, but he's at 473 right now on the season, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Thomas 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamari Jones 207 yards on the season. They all have a run of over 40. They all have a run of at least 40 yards on their mark this season. Jones passing is 61 of 112, 54%, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 795 yards. They're led in receiving by Jacory Rankin with 18 catches for 253 yards. Sylvester Campbell, 10 catches for 71 yards. Johnson, 8 for 96. Kobe Bates, 8 for 151. Bates has a 83-yard touchdown on his mark. Rankin has 4 touchdowns to lead the team. Defensively, they're led in tackles by Ronnie Thomas with 45, Kenneth Martin with 40, Lee with 39, McGee with 36. Thomas 14 and a half tackles for loss. Bell 6.5, 8.5 sacks for Thomas, 4.5 for Bell. Interceptions. Lee and Alexander both have 2 interceptions to lead this team. So this game, this is obviously it's a must win for both teams. If you're A&M, you definitely don't want to drop this game. You need to get back on the horse, so to speak, after dropping the Magic City Classic. If you're Valley, I feel like you're running out of time to pick up a win because your schedule, you have Southern next week, and then you have Prairie View the week after. So both of those games are on the road at that. So you don't have many opportunities left to win. So you need to get in where you fit in because otherwise the time is running out. So this is probably your best chance at a win is at home. But A&M's offense is good enough to win this game. Defensively, the Bulldogs have been solid enough. In a game like this, I think that's more than enough for A&M, and I think they win this game by a score of 30-14. Like I said, time is running out for Valley to get their first victory of the season, and this to me may be their best chance, but they fall short in this game by a score of 30-14. Moving on to Friday, and yes, we have Friday action, and that's Prairie View and Alcorn. Now, about 3 weeks ago, this game was a game I thought would be maybe the deciding game in the West Division. Then it became a game that if you're Alcorn, you definitely need to stay in the race. If you're a Southern fan, you feel like you need Alcorn to win this game to give Prairie View a second loss. Now Southern's sitting with 2 losses, and Alcorn is at 3, and Prairie View is in first place. So if you're a Southern fan, you still need Alcorn to win this game. If you're Prairie View, you probably wrap up the division or at least give yourself a great chance to lock it up with a win here. So this is still an important game. It's just the pieces have moved around a little bit. But Alcorn definitely needs a victory coming into this game. They're on a 3-game slide. And the losses have kind of gotten worse and worse as the weeks went on. Not just the margin because they lost 2 games by a touchdown each, but the way they've looked in each week to me has gotten worse and worse. And now you're going on the road in a very important game on a Friday night, a short week, and you're on the road. So tough matchup. This is a 6:30 kickoff on ESPNU as well. So another live SWAC game on Friday night this time instead of Thursday. So 2 ESPNU broadcasts on back-to-back nights. So a lot of SWAC action right there for you. But this is a huge game for both teams. Prairie View comes in averaging 31.3 points per game, which is 3rd in the league. Alcorn is 9th in the league and scoring at 21.9. Alcorn's defense is 7th in the league at 27.5 points per game. Prairie View is 6th at 27.3. Total offense, Prairie View is fourth in the league in total offense at 385 yards per game. They average 5.8 yards per play. Alcorn is fifth in the league in total offense at 377.9 and 5.5 yards per play. Total defense, Alcorn is fifth in the league in total defense at 342.4 and 5.3 yards per play allowed. Prairie View 374.4 and 5.5 yards per play allowed, and that's sixth place. Rushing offense, Prairie View right now leads the SWAC in rushing offense at 240 yards per game. They average 5.4 yards per play. They have 24 touchdowns, which is the most in the league by 6. Alcorn is third in the league in rushing offense at 185 yards per game, and they average 4.4 yards per carry. Rushing defense, Alcorn is sixth in the league at 149 yards per game. They allow 3.9 yards per carry. Prairie View is eighth in the league in rushing defense at 181 yards per game and 4.5 yards per carry. Now, one thing is Prairie View have been running the ball really, really well this season. The last 2 weeks, they've crossed over 300 yards in both games. Defensively, they've allowed a lot of yards on the ground these last 2 games too. And if you're Alcorn, that kind of plays into what you want to do. But Alcorn has been susceptible to turnovers and bad special teams play this season, so they need to find a way to get out of that rut. This may not be the night that you want to do it, because if Prairie View can get their running game going, they're gonna run it and run it and run it and run it. So you really need to be careful. Alcorn lost their Grambling game. Statistically, there was no way they should have lost the game, but turnovers and special teams did them in. Passing offense, Alcorn is seventh in the league in passing offense at 192 yards per game. They have 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Prairie View is 11th in the league in passing offense at 145 per game, 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Passing defense, Alcorn is 6th in the league at 193 yards per game. They have 11 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Prairie View is 5th in the league in passing offense at 192 yards per game. They have 12 touchdowns allowed and 9 interceptions. Defensively, the Panthers have 22 sacks as a defense, which is 4th in the league. Alcorn just ahead of them at 26 sacks as a defense, which is 3rd in the league. Prairie View is 1st in sacks allowed at 8. They're the only team that doesn't allow double-digit sacks. Alcorn allows 19 sacks, which is 7th in the league. So that's a nice matchup between that Prairie View offensive line and Alcorn defensive line. And I think Prairie View defensive line against Alcorn's offensive line could be a pivotal matchup. Both battles in the trenches are going to definitely be pivotal in this matchup. Alcorn, they average 19.9 first downs per game, which is 4th. Prairie View also 19.9 first downs, which is tied for 4th. Prairie View opponents average 21.1 first downs per game, which is 8th. Alcorn's opponents average 18.3, which is 4th. Third down conversions, Prairie View is 4th in the league at 37.7%. Alcorn 6th at 36.8%. Prairie View's opponents convert 41% on third downs, which is 8th. Alcorn's 34.9%, which is 7th. Fourth down conversions, Alcorn converts 46%, which is 7th place, and Prairie View is 11th in third down conversion. Fourth down conversion rate. Let me flip that. Prairie View is 2nd in fourth down conversion rate at 62%. Alcorn is 9th in the league in fourth down conversion rate at 46%. Alcorn's opponents, they convert 54% on fourth down, which is 10th place, and Prairie View's opponents convert 37%, which is 3rd place. Individually, Alcorn is led in rushing by Jarvion Howard. He's having a really great season. He's a SWAC leading rusher right now. He has 931 yards on the ground, 5.7 yards per carry, and 9 touchdowns. He's gonna get 1,000 yards barring anything happening. Nico Duffy, 293 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. Javante Leatherwood, 248 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. Aaron Allen has been kind of inconsistent the last couple of weeks. He's been turnover played. 3 turnovers against Texas Southern, 2 against Alcorn. 2 against Grambling. He has 121 of 194 completion, 62%, 1,423 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Passing, Receiving, Juan Anthony had 30 catches for 366 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malik Rogers, 17 catches for 254 yards and a touchdown. CJ Bullard, 17 catches, 162 yards. Montario Hunt, 13 catches for 274 yards. Defensively, they led in tackles by Terrence Ellis for 47, Kinsler 39, James 32. Tackles for loss, Cherilus, Webb, and Bailey each have 6. Ellis has 5.5. James and Rice have 5 sacks. Bailey leads the team with 5 sacks, 3.5 for Rice, 3 for Ballard. Interceptions, they have five guys with 1 interception apiece. Prairie View is led on the ground by a 3-headed monster. You have Antoine right now leads the team with 600 yards, 5.9 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. Connolly, 5.9 yards per carry, 530 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Stewart, 473 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. So that they all are capable of busting 100 yards at any time. They all can break the big run, and they all are going to carry the ball. Connolly, 94, 152, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,045 yards, completed 62% of his passes. Leading receiver on this team right now is Chris Heron with 16 catches for 210 yards and a touchdown. Ty Holden, 14 catches, 150 yards. Jalen Howard, 11 catches, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And that's it for their guys with double-digit catches. Collier Ricks has 9 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown behind those guys. Defensively, they're led in tackles by Keyshawn Johnson with 55, Fanko 45, Presley 41, Evans 40. Jesse Evans leads the team with 10.5 tackles for loss. Johnson 7.5, Reese 5.5, James 5.5 sacks. Johnson 4, Evans 3, James and Jones with 2 interceptions. Logan Jackson and Gerald Smith each have 2 to lead the team. So, like I said, this game is a very important game for both teams. Obviously, it's a division matchup, and it's very important that both teams win this game. But obviously, both teams can't win this game. I think this is going to be a game that's dictated by ring. I think the team who can make the least mistakes in the passing game and kind of have those timely passes, maybe a key third down conversion, or something like that, or maybe a play that gets you, in a better down and distance is going to be the team that wins the game. I think you cannot afford to fall behind the chains in this game and have to throw because Alcorn passes the ball better, but they've been turnover prone through the air these last 2 weeks. And against a defense like Prairie View can generate pressure. I think that can force some mistakes by your offense through the air. Prairie View doesn't throw a lot, so they still haven't really had that game where they've had to throw the football. This could be it. They haven't really had that forced on them. Because they've been able to kind of impose their will on the ground. So that's why I feel like the passing game would be the key in this game for both teams. Both defenses do a great job of generating pressure on the quarterback. Alcorn doesn't protect the quarterback as well as Prairie View does. So that could be the game-changing factor right there. I think this is going to be a game where both teams line up and run it at each other. I think Prairie View pulls out this victory and gives themselves a nice leg up in the West Division by a score of 28-17. Alcorn, they're on a slide, and I just don't really see them getting off of it at this point. But it could happen. But right now, I like Prairie View in this game. Moving on to our Saturday games, we have our Saturday game at 2:00, which is on ESPN Plus, and that's Grambling that's Arkansas Pine Bluff at Grambling. I think that Pine Bluff is going in one direction, Grambling is going in the other, and that really makes for a tough season for the Golden Lions. They have struggled. They have struggled all season, and they lost to Florida A&M on the road this past week, and they really have been up. They have either struggled to run the football or they've struggled to pass the ball. They struggle to get stops on defense. and they've had just such a tough season, and I know they probably feel like they really are be excited for the season to end. But y'all, excuse me. Grambling, on the other hand, has gotten their first victory on the season in conference play last week. A nice victory against Alcorn. A matchup that they kind of won without really knowing how they won. Offensively, they still didn't look that great. Defensively, they gave up some plays, but they were able to get some turnovers, and they found themselves with a victory, which is all that matters. You need to try to stack up victories and give yourself a chance heading into the end of your season. I mean, I know you don't have a lot to play for, but you want to kind of come out on the positive end at the end of the season. Looking at the stats for both teams, Grambling right now is 8th in the league in scoring offense at 23.6 points per game. Pine Bluff still is 4th at 26.1 points per game. Pine Bluff allows 36 points per game, which is 11th, and Grambling allows 34.8, which is 9th. Total offense, Grambling is 11th in the league in total offense at 284.5 yards per game, 4.8 yards per play. Pine Bluff 315.8 yards per game, 4.9 yards per play, which is 9th. Grambling is 9th in the league in total defense at 412 yards per game. And they also allow 5.6 yards per play. Pine Bluff is 10th in the league in total defense at 442 per game, and they allow 6.5 yards per play. So both defenses have really struggled so far this season to stop anybody. Both offenses have been, kind of up and down. Pine Bluff definitely has been pretty good with the run game. Grambling has been up and down with their offense as a whole. I think they've run the ball a lot better than they've passed it. Same with Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff has had their issues with the passing game, but they have been able to kind of make some things happen here and now. Looking at the rushing offense, Pine Bluff is 7th in the league at 153.6 yards per game, 4.5 yards per carry. Grambling is 10th in the league at 123.9 yards per game and 4 yards per carry. Rushing defense, Pine Bluff is 11th in the league at 217.9 yards per game and 5.5 yards per carry. Grambling 9th at 199.6 yards per game, 4.6 yards per carry. Passing offense, Pine Bluff is 9th in the league in passing offense at 162 yards per game. They have 5 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. They've definitely had some issues with quarterback play. They've had to play multiple quarterbacks all season due to injury, and nobody's really been great. You've had 2 freshmen come in and not really play well. Skylar Perry, who is a veteran, he's battled injury all season, and so he has had his opportunities, but he hasn't always looked great in those games. Grambling, again, they played multiple quarterbacks, so they haven't really looked the best. They haven't really looked the best in the passing game, but they settled on Julian Calvez these last couple of weeks, and he's been playing better. Not great, but he's been playing better, and I think that's some stability for this offense. Passing defense, Grambling is 8th at 212 yards per game. They have allowed 15 touchdowns, and they have 4 interceptions, which is tied for the least in the league. Pine Bluff is 10th in the league, allowing 224 through the air, 18 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Grambling has allowed 20 sacks as an offense, which is 9th in the league. Pine Bluff has allowed 19, which is 8th. So both teams kind of struggle to protect the quarterback. Pine Bluff is 10th in the league with 13 sacks. Grambling is 9th with 14 sacks. So neither team really does a great job of getting to the quarterback, but they both and neither team does a good job of protecting quarterback. So that may help both teams actually in this game, being since you're not really able to protect your quarterback, you don't really have to deal with a team that is gonna get the pressure on your quarterback. So that may be a good thing for both teams in this game. Neither team has been able to stop anybody from getting at the quarterback. Interceptions, like I said, Grambling is basically tied for last in the league in interceptions, so they haven't really been able to get any big plays on defense through there. And Alcorn did throw 2 interceptions in this last game, so that definitely helps the Tigers a lot. Looking at first downs, Pine Bluff averages 17 first downs a game, which is 10th. Grambling is last at 14.6 first downs per game. Pine Bluff's opponents convert 21.4 first downs per game. Grambling's opponents 23, which is 9th and 10th respectively. Grambling is last in third down offense at 23.8%. Pine Bluff is 8th at 33.3%. Pine Bluff's opponents 43.1% on third down, which is 9th. Grambling's opponents 34.9, which is 6th. So Grambling has done a pretty decent job of actually getting stops on defense. Their problem is honestly a consistent offense. I think that Grambling is a team that feast or famine on offense. They either move the ball in chunks or they don't move the ball at all. And Pine Bluff's a defense that gives up chunk plays. So I think that does play into what Grambling's been able to do. That's honestly a sign of a young offense not being able to consistently move the football, but being able to hit those big plays. You know, you got guys like Maurice Washington who can really stretch the field with his running game, and they can throw deep, on a deep ball from time to time. But if you want to beat Grambling, you need to make them march down the field. They inevitably will make a mistake. Grambling is 5th in the league in 4th down conversions at 50%. Pine Bluff is also tied. Well, they're tied before, both 50%. Pine Bluff's opponents convert 30% on third downs, which is 1st in the league. Grambling's opponents convert 57%, which is 11th. So Grambling gets stops on third downs, but they can't get off the field on 4th downs. Individually, Pine Bluff is led by Kayvon Britton on the ground. He has 789 yards right now, 5.9 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. He needs to be fed the ball as much as possible for this offense to have any success. Passing, Skylar Perry, 86 of 164, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's completing 52% of his passes. He has 860 yards. Receiving, they're led by Raekwon Prince with 26 catches for 259 yards, 3 touchdowns. Chris Cochran, 22 catches, 248, 1 touchdown. Britton, 18 for 86. Williams, 16 for 207. Dawkins, 14 for 140. Lloyd, 11 for 154. Defensively, they're led in tackles by Williams, Dozier, and Woods, each with 41 tackles apiece. Jones, 39. Ewell, 36 tackles for loss. Gray, 5.5 to lead the team in sacks. Clark with 3 interceptions. Seward has 3 interceptions, so he's definitely a guy. If you're Grambling, you need to know where he's at on the field because he's definitely going to pick off one in a game. Grambling is led on the ground by Maurice Washington with 35 carries for 300 yards. Florida Chalk, 35 carries, 152 yards. Calvez, 43 carries, 152 yards. Williams, 40 carries, 137 yards. So they play a multitude of guys in the backfield, and a guy like Calvez can run the ball as well. Washington averages 8.6 yards per carry, has 5 touchdowns to lead the team. Calvez is 36 of 95, 366 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's only completing 38% of his passes, so that's still something to work on, getting that completion rate up, and that's consistency for your offense. Being able to consistently hit passes and move the ball and move the chains down the field. Lyndon Rash, 23 catches, 410 yards, 4 touchdowns. Washington, 12 catches, 58 yards. Coleman, 12, 197. Bean, 10 for 136. Defensively, they're led by Lewis Matthews with 75 tackles. Reed, 57. Thomas, 44. Tackle for loss. Matthews and Anderson each have 9 to lead the team. Anderson leads the team with 5.5 sacks. Interceptions, they have 4 guys with 1 apiece. So basically, this game, like I said, this is another game that I think both teams need. If you're Pine Bluff, you're running out of time. You close out your season with Prairie View and Alabama State. Again, 2 tough games. So this is maybe your best chance at a victory. Similar to Valley, Grambling, you still have Southern and Texas Southern on the schedule. So again, 2 tough games. I'm not saying that Grambling can't win either of those 2 games, but this is probably your last game that you could look at it and be like, that's a dub for you. So both teams need this. Grambling is playing with a bit better. I think Grambling will win this game 37-22. Pine Bluff, they're gonna fight. I think they're gonna show a little bit more fight, but I think Grambling will win this game and pick up their second SWAC victory and third victory on the season. The next game we're gonna talk about is Alabama State at Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman's been on the road a lot this season. They finally come back home. This is the HBCU Gold game of the week. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff, Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Central. So this is a big matchup for both teams. Bama State coming off of a big victory in the Magic City Classic. So you know that our emotions are running high in this game. Bethune-Cookman let one get away from them in the second half against Prairie View. They gave up a ton of yards, a ton of points, but they also scored and moved the ball pretty well themselves. So, they have something to build on, but they're going up against a defense that doesn't give up much. Alabama State's offense doesn't really score a lot. They're averaging 17.8 points per game, which is 11th in the league. Bethune-Cookman is 6th at 25.4 points per game. Alabama State is second in scoring offense at 20 points per game. Bethune-Cookman is last at 42 points per game. Total offense, Alabama State is 10th in the league in total offense at 296 yards per game. They average 5 yards per play. Bethune-Cookman is third in total offense at 387 yards per game. Yards per game and 6 yards per play. Total defense, Alabama State is third at 313 per game and 5 yards per play. Bethune-Cookman is 11th at 461 per game and 6.5 yards per play. Rushing offense, Alabama State is 11th in the league at 102 yards per game and 3 yards per carry, which is the least in the league. Bethune-Cookman averages 157 yards per game and 5 yards per carry, which is 6th in the league. Rushing defense, Alabama State third, 125 yards per game allowed and 3.6 yards per carry. Bethune-Cookman is last in the league in rushing offense at 238 yards per game and 5.6 yards per carry. Passing offense, Alabama State is 6th in the league at 194 yards per game. They have 10 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Bethune-Cookman is third at 230 yards per game. They have 10 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Passing defense, Alabama State 181 yards per game, and they have 8 touchdowns allowed and 5 interceptions. Bethune-Cookman is 9th in the league in passing defense at 222 per game, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Defensively, Alabama State has 18 sacks as a defense, which is 6th in the league. Bethune-Cookman is last with 11 sacks. Bethune-Cookman allows 30 sacks as a defense, and that's last in the league. Alabama State is 5th in the league, allowing 18 sacks. First downs per game, Alabama State is at 17.4. Bethune-Cookman is 7th at 18.8. Alabama State allows 17.8 first downs per game. Bethune-Cookman allows 24.9, which is last. Third downs, Alabama State converts 38.2% on third downs, which is third. Bethune-Cookman is 7th at 34.6. Alabama State's opponents convert 29% on third down, which is second in the league. And Bethune-Cookman's opponents convert 48%, which is last. Fourth down conversions, Bethune-Cookman is 7th at 46%. Alabama State is 11th at 28%. Alabama State has only attempted 7 fourth downs, which is the least in the league. Bethune-Cookman is right near the top at 15. Bethune-Cookman opponents convert 43% on fourth downs, and Alabama State's opponents convert 42%, which is 8th and 9th respectively. Looking at Alabama State offensively, they have a three-headed attack at running back. Merritt, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dunn, 281 and 1 touchdown. Howell, 187 and 4 touchdowns. Right now, Davis leads the team with 57 pass completions, 101 attempts, 56% completion rate, 675 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Miles Crowley, 53 for 91, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 772 yards. He's completing 58% of his passes. Receiving, they're led by Jeremiah Hickson with 24 catches for 259 yards. Johnson, 17 for 309. Chenault, 14 for 210. Scott, 14 for 215. Hickson with 3 touchdowns. Johnson with 2. Chenault and Scott each have 1 apiece. Defensively, Bubba Adams is the leading tackler with 85 tackles. Ershaw Davis is second with 46. So you have a guy who almost doubles the amount of tackles for the second place guy. He's always around the football. 7.5 tackles for loss for Gaddy. Bubba Adams, 6.5. Maddox, 6 sacks. Young Roll with 3. Gaddy and Adams with 2. Ogletree also with 2 interceptions. Maddox and Isaac each have 2 interceptions to lead the Hornets defense. Bethune-Cookman is led on the ground by Quayshawn Bird. He's having a pretty solid season right now with 506 yards, averaging 6.5 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns. Jalen Jones, 436 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Jones, 128 of 214, completing 57% of his passes. He has 10 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 1,684 yards. Since they've settled on a guy, the offense has been a lot better this season. They have, a guy like Marcus Riley with 31 catches for 498 yards and 5 touchdowns. Average 26 for 332 and 4 touchdowns. He's been coming on late this season. Lee 16 for 189. Powell 10 for 173. Ellington 10 for 103. Defensively, they're led by Rosendo Lewis with 43. Ratliff 42. Ryan Blake 39. Eford 39. Tackles for loss, Loving 4.5, Hampton 4. Loving leads the team with 2.5 sacks. And Amari Hill Robinson, who's definitely an all-SWAC guy, has 4 interceptions to lead the team. This is a pretty simple game. I mean, Bethune-Cookman's offense is better on paper than Alabama State's offense, but I think Alabama State's defense is the best unit in this game. And I think they're going to dictate the tempo and pace of this game with their defense. I think Bethune-Cookman is prone to turnovers, and they've been prone to some inconsistency here and now, but their defense gives up a lot. And I think with Alabama State's defense getting the stops that they need, the offense will be able to do what they do, which is score a couple of touchdowns here and now and move the ball a bit to keep the defense fresh. And I think that's what's going to happen in this game. I like the Hornets by a score of 27-14. Not a very pretty game, but I think that both teams will fight it out. Moving on to our next game, Southern is at Florida A&M. This is a 5 o'clock kickoff Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Central, ESPN Plus broadcast. Florida A&M hasn't been playing spectacular, but they have not lost since the Jackson State game, so they are on a winning streak. Southern, obviously, they had a bad game at Jackson State, but they've been playing, feast or famine football. They either get blowed out or they win in a blowout. They only have one close game, and that was the Alcorn game. Everything else has been a blowout win or a blowout loss. So they, like I said, either feast or famine. And right now, playing in Tallahassee is somewhere that's tough for Southern to play historically. So you always got to count that into account. Both teams, they kind of know who they are. They know what they want to do. And this is going to be a game where it's important for Southern, if they want to stay in the race, they need to win this game. FAMU, if they want to keep, those slim hopes that they have alive, they need to win. But I think, the odds are against them in terms of the division race. FAMU comes in scoring 23 points per game, which is seventh place. Southern scores 34 points per game, which is second. Southern is third in scoring defense at 20.5 points per game. FAMU fourth at 24.5. Total offense, Southern is second at 430 yards per game, 6.6 yards per play. FAMU sixth, 362 and 5.2 yards per game. Southern defensively is second at 282 per game, allowing 4.4 yards per play. FAMU is fourth in the league in total defense at 341 yards per game and 5.2 yards per play. Rushing offense, Southern is second at 216 per game, 5.4 yards per carry. FAMU is last at 101 yards per game and 3.2 yards per carry. Rushing defense, Southern is second at 104 yards per game, 3 yards per carry. FAMU is fourth at 131 per game and 4.3 yards per carry. Passing offense, FAMU is second at 260. They have 14 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Southern is fourth at 213. They have 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Southern is second in passing defense at 178.5 yards per game, 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. FAMU is seventh in the league, allowing 210 through the air, 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So these teams are kind of similar statistically. Sacks allowed, FAMU allows 15, which is third. Southern allows 18, which is tied for fifth. Southern is second in the league in sacks at 29, and FAMU is fifth in the league at 20. First down, Southern is third in the league at 20.3 first downs per game. FAMU 21.3, which is second. Southern is second, allowing 17 first downs per game. FAMU fifth, allowing 19.4. Southern leads the league in third down conversion rate at 43%. FAMU is fifth at 37.3. Southern is third in third down conversion rate as a defense, 30.8%. FAMU is fifth at 33.9%. Fourth down conversion, FAMU completes 72% on fourth downs, which is first. Southern is eighth at 46.7. Southern's opponents convert 30% on third downs, 30.8, which is tied for first. FAMU's opponents are sixth at 41.7%. Looking at some of the individual guys, Southern is led on the ground by Bashawn McCray, right now with 413 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. Sims, 408 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Ligon, 389 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Rhymes, 264, 5.6 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. McCray, 103 of 165, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 1,389 yards, completing 62% of his passes. Receiving right now, Cassius Allen, 22 catches, 357, 3 touchdowns. Whitfield, 18 for 224 and a touchdown. August Pete, 16 for 279 and 3 touchdowns. Sims, 12 for 160 and a touchdown. Dyson, 10 for 193, 2 touchdowns. Defensively, they're led by Campbell with 51 tackles, Harris 38, Williams 34. Tackles for loss, Lang with 12, Campbell with 10, Brown with 10. Sacks, Brown 6.5, Lang 4.5, Campbell 4, Lewis 4. Interceptions, Harris has 3, and Carter has 2 to lead the defense. FAMU, right now, they're led on the ground. They're led on the ground by AJ Davis. Jalen McLeod with 264, 4.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Jennings, 230, 4.3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Davis, 178, 4.2 yards per carry. The running game was the best they had all season against Bethune-Cookman against Pine Bluff last week. They ran the ball the best that they have all season. So you hope, if you're FAMU, that you can continue to do that. Musa, 168 of 291, 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 58% completion rate, 2,034 yards. The top 2 guys are Smith and Shareed. Smith, 63 catches, 703 yards, 8 touchdowns. Shareed, 35 for 490 and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, they're led in tackles by Isaiah Major with 60. Johnny Chaney with 33 tackles for loss. Major with 9, Land 8. Stevens, 7.5. Sacks, Stevens 6, Land 5. Interceptions, Morgan and Kendall Bowler each lead with 2. And both teams are pretty solid special teams wise. We haven't really talked a lot of special teams on the show, but both teams are pretty solid in the special teams game. So that's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out on in this game, especially. I think this is a game that either team can win. I think they match up pretty well. Southern doesn't really allow much on the ground. FAMU doesn't really rely that much on their running game, so that kind of cancels out. I think Southern's run pass defense is pretty solid, but FAMU is second in the league in passing offense. Southern runs the ball well. FAMU does pretty well against the run, so for Southern to move the ball, the passing game is going to have to be consistent, which in their wins it has been, in the losses it hasn't. So you need that good Southern passing offense to show up and not the bad. Turnovers, both teams are kind of the same. So it's going to come down to, a few things here and now. I do like Southern in this game a lot, but I just don't like that brag jinx that Southern has against them, and it makes it hard for me to pick. I mean, obviously at some point a streak has to end. I don't think it's this week though. I just that brag magic against Southern is just too strong right now for me, and I like FAMU by a score 24-21. The late score gives the Rattlers the victory, and I just it just brag just doesn't do anything for me. Our last game on the schedule, and it all is our game of the week. Jackson State heads to Houston to take on Texas Southern, which is a 6 o'clock kickoff, ESPN Plus broadcast. Um, Jackson State, I mean, what more can be said about the Tigers, man? They dominated Southern last week, and they've been dominant in pretty much every game they play. Even in their ugly games, their defense has been dominant. Texas Southern defense has been a lot better this season, and the offense has kind of been up and down, but they've been able to hit big plays when they need them. They're going to have their work cut out for them against the Jackson State defense that doesn't give up anything. Their defense is swarming, and they can erase any mistakes that the offense makes. So they get to play with house money basically through a whole game because they know that their defense is going to bail them out of any mistake that they make. Jackson State averages 40 points per game, which leads the league. Texas Southern averages 25.9, which is fifth. Texas State defense allows 8.9 points per game, which is first. Texas Southern defense allows 25.8, which is fifth. Total offense, Jackson State first, 478.6, 6.3 yards per play. Texas Southern's offense, 333 per game, 5.1 yards per play. The deep offense has kind of taken a step back this season compared to last season. Jackson State, 194 yards per game allowed as a defense, 3.3 yards per play. Texas Southern defense has gotten a lot better this season, 396 per game, 5.7 yards per play, which is eighth in the league. Rushing offense, Jackson State is fifth in the league at 165 yards per game, 4.8 yards per carry. Texas Southern, 167.7 and 4.1 yards per carry. That's fourth. Rushing defense, Jackson State is first at 80.9 yards per game, 2.5 yards per carry. Texas Southern 211 per game, which is 10th, and 4.8 yards per carry. Passing offense, Jackson State first, 313 per game, 26 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. They have the most touchdowns by 11 in the league, so they have thrown quite a few touchdowns compared to the rest of the league. Texas Southern is eighth in the league in passing offense at 165 per game, 8 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Jackson State first in passing offense, 113 per game, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Texas Southern is third in the league in passing offense, 185 per game, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Jackson State allows 11 sacks, which is second. Texas Southern is fourth at 15. Jackson State leads the league with 31 sacks, which is first. Texas Southern is 11th with 12 sacks by their defense. First down per game, Jackson State 25.6, which is first. Texas Southern 8th, 18.5. Jackson State leads the league with 11.4 first downs allowed. Texas Southern is 6th at 20.5 for the opponents. Third down conversion rate, Jackson State second, 41%. Texas Southern 9th at 33%. Texas Southern defense allows 31% on third down, which is fourth place. Jackson State allows 22.5, which is first place. Fourth down conversions for offense. Texas Southern is last at 25%, 3 of 12. Jackson State is 10th at 7 of 18. They have the second most fourth down attempts at 18. They convert 38%. Jackson State's opponents convert 41% on fourth down, 7 of 17. That's fifth place. Texas Southern's opponents 38%, 7 of 18. Individually, Jackson State is led by Savion Wilkerson on the ground with 673 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. Marshall, 282 yards, 6.7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Martin, 156, 4.5 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Sanders, 154, 3.1 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Shedeur Sanders, 228 of 320, 71% completion rate. 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,425 yards. The passing attack is led by Daniels with 49 catches for 578 yards and 6 touchdowns. Hooks, 38 for 401 and 5 touchdowns. Stevens, 25 for 238. Coleman, 16 for 223. Gaines, 16 for 306 and 4 touchdowns. Powers with 14 catches. Wilkerson with 14 catches. Martin, 13. Buckley, 12. Marshall, 10. Marshall, 12. They have a bunch of guys that catch the ball. Defensively, they led in tackles by Aubrey Miller with 48. Tillman Craig, 34 tackles for loss. Reagan with 10. Gaddy with 9. Sacks, Gaddy 5.5. Reagan 4.5. Brown 3.5. Huggins 2.5. Interceptions. They have a multitude of guys with 1. So this defense does everything by numbers, man. They swarm the ball tremendously, and they are gonna stop you. TSU has to find a way to move the ball. The running game is probably gonna have to key that. Right now, Ladarius Owens leads the team with 506 yards. He averages 5.6 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns. Howard, 370, 5.1 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. Body, 352, 3.9 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Andrew Body, 109 of 190, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 1,294 yards. Completed 57% of his passes. Again, numbers are slightly down this season, but they've been winning. So the defense has definitely picked up the slack for the offense this season. Morton, 26 for 422, 1 touchdown. Shane, 16, 131 and 1 touchdown. Bennett, 15 for 146 and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, they led in tackles by Williams with 62, Cooper 44, Anderson 35, Pippins 30, tackles for loss, Akins 7.5, Williams 6, Pippins 5, sacks, Akins 2 to lead the team, and Isaiah Hamilton, who is definitely going to be a guy to keep an eye on in a game like this with a team that passes the ball a lot. He's definitely going to be a guy that you keep an eye on to possibly make some big plays for TSU. He has 3 interceptions to lead the team. This is a game that a lot of people looked at as a key game. I think Jackson State is just on a roll, and I don't see them stumbling in this game. I think TSU do. I think they'll come out and they'll play tough and they'll play hard. And it's probably going to be like most early games with Jackson State. The offense kind of maybe takes a minute to get going, but the defense gets them the ball back until they get rolling. And I think that TSU just won't have enough for Jackson State. I like this game 38-10 by the JSU Tigers. As they continue their march to an undefeated SWAC season and basically undefeated regular season. So I think they are on a roll, and I think they're gonna close it out strong. So that's gonna do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow for SWAC Smoke live 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Sunday we'll be back to recap all the action, and I think Monday or Tuesday I'm gonna drop my my SWAC basketball preview. We'll go ahead and get that out there to get the season started. You know what I mean? A lot of exhibition games are taking place at this point. So we'll talk a little basketball as well, and then we'll be back for week 11. We're making our way through Championship November, and we'll catch you guys on the rebound. Y'all have a good week, and we'll holler at y'all later. Peace.